everyone, talking about Turncoat by Jim Butcher. This is the 11th book in the Dresden Files. Really, really good. I still think the previous one, Small Favor, so far has been my favorite, but so far not a bad book in the bunch. It's just really shocking to say. So quickly, we have this fellow Morgan, who was another wizard. There's the Wizard Council, and then there's the Senior Council. That's the people who are in charge of the wizards. And then you have these fellows called Wardens, who are the police force of the wizards. And Harry himself had to be recruited as one at one point. And Morgan is a warden. And Morgan is one of the biggest jerks in all of fiction. Him and Harry hate each other. Mostly because Morgan's a big old stick in the mud for what he thinks is his duty. He's literally one of those sort of lawful, stupid people. But now, the thing is about Morgan, though, so let me back up. He gets framed potentially for a murder and had to fight his way out of the wizards, and he comes to Harry to be hidden and well, you're an investigator, so I've been framed. Why don't you do something about that? We'll come back to him in a minute because he resembles a character in another fantasy series that everybody loves. So, a couple concepts that jumped out at me that I really liked, and got it marked here. Gonna do just a little smidgen of reading for you. Page 33. So Harry at the beginning of the book encounters this thing which seems to come right out of Lovecraft, some kind of cosmic horror type deal. And when he first glimpses it, it shocks him to his core. And his only way to deal with it is he starts anything to avoid remembering seeing it. And so he starts doing prime numbers. He gets to his apartment and I gotta be alone in a room, just leave me alone for like hours. And so the idea is okay, let me think about it. Oh, I can't. Oh, let me think about it. Oh, I can't. It just shocks him every time. So he has to try to get used to thinking about this damn thing so we can go on with sanity. So, I could get used to seeing that kind of horror enough to see it and yet remain a reasoning being. Better men than I had done so. Morgan had. I shivered again, and not because of any memory. It was because I knew what it could mean when you forced yourself to live with hideous things like that. It changed you. Maybe not all at once. Maybe it didn't turn you into a monster. But I'd been scarred, and I knew it. How many times would something like this need to happen before I started bending myself into something horrible just to survive? I was young for a wizard. Where would I be after decades or centuries of refusing to look away? And so you have what is essentially PTSD for magic people. And it reminded me of something from a 4-issue series a long time ago. This is the first of the books of magic, and this is DC Comics. And this fellow, they never developed him, but his name's Tim Hunter. And even though he had a series, he was supposed to be, some chosen one wizard, and he never became this particularly powerful individual. But he gets introduced, and so they decide to give him a tour of the multiverse. And one of the people he meets is called the last ruler of Atlantis. I think I speak with some authority. By means of magic, I have lived for many millions of years. And I've had too great a deal of thinking. And what I think is this: the whole thing is a crock of dirt not worth the price I paid not for 1 second. If I had my time over again, I'd be someone happy and distant and small, live in a hole in the ground maybe, never to get involved in the affairs of the great and the powerful, never to discover the joy of the art. So it's a concept in not a lot of some fantasy does it, but not all, where there's always this price to be paid for the magic that you wield. And in this case, slowly but surely, the scars build up and you just become a horrid monster yourself, perhaps. Turns out happily, this cosmic horde winds up being an ancient Navajo thing called a skinwalker, shape changer, very powerful with magic, and that becomes one of the primary antagonists in the book. The other concept that jumped at me in this it's a morality tale, and his apprentice Molly, I think she's still a teenager in this, late teens. She isn't particularly powerful like Harry is in, let's say, combat magic, but she can do invisibility very well. And she's got a little talent for getting into people's minds and doing things. And she has been forbidden to do this. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I seem to recall reading this in here that there are a number of things that you're not supposed to do because ultimately it involves darker magic and slowly but surely can literally just turn you to the side of evil. And I think maybe this is one of those things, getting into people's head and doing control. Matter of fact, Molly is his apprentice because she modified someone's mind in order, she was trying to do the right thing, but she did it the wrong way as far as we were concerned, trying to control someone's mind. Getting cloudy because of the brightness. Let's see if we can make a little, there we go. So, Morgan was in love with this woman by the name of Lucio, who's one of the wizards. And something about the relationship made Molly decide, I want to take a look when Harry wasn't looking. And it's a funny scene how it happened, but anyway, she got caught. And Harry is he's not just disappointed, he's basically just disgusted with her for attempting this. And he just, I don't even know if I can have you be my apprentice. He almost kicks her out. He gives her the option to leave. You got to do what I say and don't do these things, or else this is just not going to work. And she acquiesces. She's like, okay, I'll try not to do this. But I have a little issue with this. And it stems from an idea that occurred to me reading some comic books. And so who could potentially be, it's not who is the most effective, but who could potentially be the most effective superhero? It's not Wolverine, it's not Batman, it's not Daredevil or Spider-Man. Those are the ones we read for the action. Well, the most effective superhero is an action superhero. And that'd be someone like Professor X, because he has vast telepathy powers. And so what do you do with that? Well, he won't just go in. He rarely wants to control people's minds because he considers it amoral to interfere with their free will, even if they're a bad guy. And that's a bit of a crock as far as I'm concerned. DC Comics has its own telepathic people. They're not as well known, but if you take someone like Professor X and throw him at Batman's Arkham Asylum for an evening, well, Batman gets to retire the next day. So tell me what's moral. That you stop the Joker from, he's already killed goodness knows how many people, directly and indirectly, caused their deaths. And he just keeps escaping, you just keep capturing him, and that's the way. Well, that's the way so you can sell comic books every month. Batman used to kill his villains, but they realized, we're getting tired of coming up with villains every month, so let's have some recurring ones and a morality tale that we're not the judge, jury, and executioner, which actually is a good idea. We don't want vigilantes running around dispensing their own form of justice, because frankly, they might get it wrong. But if you've got mind control powers, why not stop by the Joker's cell and just do something simple like take his confidence from him? Then what's he gonna do? Not much. And so you run into that here where, really, is it really that immoral to go in and do things and check things out? Turns out really by the time you get to the end of this, I think there's kind of a half right, half wrong thing going on there. So Molly needs guidance, but she wasn't wrong to check and see what's going on in so-and-so's mind there. But beyond that, so Morgan, I didn't realize it till I got to this book. He's basically Professor Snape from Harry Potter. He has power and authority, and he doesn't mind wielding it. Whereas Snape's basically just a big jerk, Morgan is at least as much of a jerk, and he has no problem with executing people if the council says so. So also, he's in love with who is, well, at the start of this book anyway, Harry Dresden's girlfriend. She's his wizard. She's centuries old, but she, in a battle, had her mind switched to a younger body. But for the previous century, Morgan was in love with this woman. She refused his advances, not because she necessarily did or didn't like him, but she explains that in order for me to do my duty and do it well without distraction, I need to just shun that whole side of me. And so her and Morgan don't get together, much to his disappointment. And he didn't. Did he? It's a small scene in here where he's like, "Oh, you two." So another reason to hate Harry. But like Snape, I do these semi-spoilers, so here you go. So Morgan, in the end, winds up doing let's call it an extra noble thing. Because where Snape was trying to protect Harry's mother, that's what he was trying to protect, was her. Here, Morgan was trying to protect Lucio, because she had been controlled to perform a murder, and he shoved her out of the way, get the hell out of the way, and he picked up the weapon, and he got framed for it. And the council, I wondered why, well, why don't you just explain things? You're in the middle of a bunch of wizards, you can all figure it out. But there's a very big reason. The council is a bunch of jerkasses. Their number one concern, and it almost feels like their only concern, is their level of power and the way others perceive their level of power. So they show that weakness that someone got in and was able to control one of their wizards. Well, they just can't have that. And so they'll just kill an innocent and make sure everybody knows that it happened, just so they look tough and strong. They're just these horrible monsters in charge of everything. And at some point, I have to assume that's going to come to a head, and these people running the show are going to have to be done away with, because you can't rule a body like this. You talk about amoral. You lay down these 7 laws and say you cannot break these laws, but you do that, you'll just kill innocents just to show everyone how strong you are. That's ridiculous. But that's who's in charge, and that's who everyone has to deal with. And Morgan, once again, he let himself get framed to protect her, this woman that he loved, and ultimately has to sacrifice himself. Even though he may have been shown to be innocent, he just says, "Look, dude, I have to do this because I worked for this amoral council, but I'm gonna let it go. I'm gonna let my life go just to protect it." So, whereas Snape was, he was a bad person, but he was doing the right thing. But in a way, he was doing it for very selfish reasons, because it was just for Lily. Well, Morgan's doing it for a group of people that are just bad. He's like, "Oh, throw it away." In the end, they do have a little get together. It's like, yep, he was a big jerk. He did one good thing for one good person, and then sacrifice yourself for the amoral governing body is crazy. They do keep things in check, but the ends doesn't always justify the means, does it? Other things that happen in here, little flirty time with Murphy. She brought him donuts and coffee, and he's like, "Oh, female cops are so sexy." And then there's his run. He has werewolves locally that do work for him, and he hangs out with them. He plays Dungeons and Dragons with them. And this one kid was named Billy, but there's like a grown-up moment that takes place here because Billy was normally doing things blindly. I'll just do what you say. You don't have to tell me everything. It's like, look, this just cost some people their lives. You're gonna have to start telling me everything. And he starts referring to Billy as William instead. So and I assume that's going to be his name for the rest of the series. I think that's about it. I don't think I missed anything. What do we got here? Notes. The graffiti of violence scars on his hand. There's still no word as to who is the ultimate villain behind everything. So all the people in question that have been through this book, they were just tools of somebody else. A couple new characters introduced. There was a regular human private detective that Harry made use of, who is also a full-on smartass. We had someone who could summon things from the alternate dimension called the Never Never, and he was kind of a cheap-ass salesman jerk, but he wound up having to just let him go in the end. He was pretty much one of the bad guys, but it's like, get out of my city, or next time I see you, I'll kill you. But that will be about it. So on to book 12, Changes. Long ago, Susan Rodriguez was Harry Dresden's lover. Oh, they're bringing back part vampire woman. Until she was attacked by his enemies, leaving her caught between humanity and the relentless bloodlust of the vampiric Red Court. She disappeared to South America, where she could fight both her savage gift and those who cursed her with it. Now she needs Harry's help more than ever. For the vengeful Duchess of the Red Court has discovered a secret Susan has long kept from everyone, including Harry, and she plans to use it. To prevail, Harry may have to unleash the full fury of his untapped power, and he may have no choice but to embrace the darkness within himself, because this time he's fighting to save his child. What is a kid? Kind of wish I hadn't read that just oh well, it's on the blurb. There you go. All right, changes. All right, oh, here we go. That's it. Sunday where I'm at right now. Thank you very much. Have a lovely day, and I'll see you next time in a few days with Changes. Bye-bye.